Part 1. My mom always said I looked like our neighbor. Now I know why. Hey Reddit, throw away account because I don't want this tied to my main. This is going to be long, but I swear it's true, and I really need to just get it out. If nothing else, maybe writing this down will stop my hands from shaking. So, for context, I grew up in a pretty small, boring suburb. You know the kind of place. All the houses look the same. There's a Dairy Queen that counts as fine dining. And if a dog runs loose, the whole neighborhood Facebook group explodes with posts about it. Our neighbors to the right were the Johnsons. Mr. Johnson, Gary, was the kind of guy everyone liked. Big belly laugh, always fixing things in his garage. The dude who'd snowblow your driveway without asking. He wasn't flashy or anything, but people just gravitated toward him. And since I was a kid, my mom had this thing she would say to me. You know, you look just like Gary. She'd smile when she said it, kind of wistful, like she was remembering something. Sometimes she'd say it if Gary waved from his yard, or if we bumped into him at the store. It wasn't just once or twice. It was like a running joke, except I never really found it funny. Stop saying that. I groaned when I got older. He's like 50. You'll see when you're older, she'd say, chuckling. It wasn't just her either. Family friends would comment on it, neighbors too. You know, your boy looks an awful lot like Gary, they'd say at cookouts. My dad would just shrug, usually with a beer in his hand, and say, well, maybe Gary's just a handsome guy. At the time, it didn't mean much. Honestly, I just thought it was small-town people grasping for conversation. Like when someone tells you your baby looks like a celebrity, and you're like, I don't see it, but sure, Jan. But yeah, there was more to it. The first weird thing. When I was about 13, I was in our garage looking for a basketball, and I found this old shoebox on a high shelf. Inside were a bunch of photos, mostly of my mom and her friends from back in the 80s. Big hair, neon clothes, the works. And there was one picture, my mom at a lake, probably around my age at the time. She had her arm around Gary. Both of them were grinning, sunburned, holding red Solo cups. Now, maybe that doesn't sound weird. But here's the thing. Gary looked young in the photo too. Like really young. Definitely not married with kids young. I brought it to my mom like, hey, what's this? She froze. Not like, oops, you caught me off guard. Froze. Like statue, deer in headlights froze. Then she snatched the photo from my hand and said, you weren't supposed to see that. What do you mean? Nothing, she said. Go outside, play with your ball. But she never gave the photo back. The joke that wasn't a joke. As I got older, the comments got weirder. Once, at a block party, one of the older ladies in the neighborhood, Mrs. Crane, had a little too much wine and leaned over to my mom. I wasn't supposed to hear, but I did. She said, you know, he's got Gary's eyes. Spitting image. And my mom didn't laugh it off. She didn't deny it. She just looked down at her plate. My dad? He didn't even flinch. Just kept talking to someone else like he hadn't heard. That's when I started getting this gnawing little thought in the back of my head. A thought I didn't want to say out loud. What if they weren't just joking? The breaking point. Fast forward to last year. I'm 25 now. My mom got sick, not like a cold, but the kind of sick people whisper about. We had hospice nurses coming by, family dropping into help, all that. And you could tell she knew her time was limited. One night, I was sitting with her in her room. It was just us. She was tired, but she reached for my hand and said, you've always been such a good boy. I said, I had good parents. And she looked at me, really looked at me. Her eyes got glassy. She whispered, you remind me so much of Gary. I wanted to scream, but instead I just said, Why do you always say that? She hesitated. Then, so quietly I almost didn't catch it, she said. Because you are? That was it. That's all she said. Then she turned away and closed her eyes. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Digging. After she passed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About what she'd said. About all the little comments, all the glances, all the jokes. So I started digging. I went through her old stuff, found letters, photos, scraps of things she'd kept hidden in boxes. And sure enough, there were more pictures of her and Gary. Lots of them. At parties, on trips, sometimes just sitting together on a couch, looking close. Closer than just friends, close. And the dates? All lined up about 9 months before I was born. The test. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to convince myself I was jumping to conclusions, that my mom was just being weird. So I did the only thing I could think of. I bought a DNA test kit. It sat on my desk for weeks. I'd pick it up, put it down, pick it up again. Finally, one night, after a couple drinks, I spat in the tube and sent it off. The results came back 2 months ago. And yeah, you already know. The father who popped up. Not my dad. Not even close. It was Gary. The confrontation. So here's where it gets really messed up. I didn't know what to do with this information. Do I tell my dad? Do I confront Gary? Do I just bury it? I tried to ignore it for a while. But every time I saw Gary in his yard, waving like always, my stomach dropped. Finally, I couldn't take it. One night, after a couple beers, I walked over. He was in his garage, tinkering with something on his workbench. "Hey," I said. "Hey, kiddo," he said, grinning like always. "How you holding up?" And I just blurted it out. "We need to talk. About my mom." His smile faltered. Just for a second. But I saw it. I told him about the test. About the photos. About what my mom had said before she died. He didn't deny it. He didn't even look surprised. He just sat down heavily on his work stool, rubbed his face, and sighed. Then he said, "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." That's where I'm going to leave this for now. There's a lot more to the story, but honestly, just typing this out has me shaking. I don't even know how to process half of it, and the rest, well, let's just say it gets way messier. If people actually want to hear the rest, I'll post part 2. But fair warning, it's not the kind of thing you can unread once you know it. Part 2. My mom always said I looked like our neighbor. Now I know why. Here's part 2. If you didn't read part 1, you'll be lost. Check my profile. Fair warning, this gets heavier. So yeah, I confronted Gary. And he admitted it, just like that. No hesitation, no. "What are you talking about?" No nervous laughter. Just acceptance. The way he said, "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." Like this was inevitable. Like he'd been living with a clock ticking down the whole time. That part gutted me. I thought I'd feel rage. Betrayal. Maybe relief at finally knowing the truth. But instead, I just felt hollow. The conversation. We sat in his garage that night for what felt like hours. I barely remember half of what he said because my brain kept short-circuiting. But I remember some parts vividly. "I loved your mom," he said. "We were young, dumb, and we thought we had more time to figure things out. Then she met your dad, and, well, you know the rest." I snapped at him. "No, I don't know the rest. What the hell happened? Did she cheat on my dad with you? Were you together before? After? Did he know?" Gary rubbed his temples. "It's complicated." Which is the last thing you want to hear when your entire identity just imploded. "I deserve to know the truth," I said, my voice shaking. He sighed. Your mom and I, we were seeing each other, yes. For a while. She got pregnant. She wanted to tell your dad, but he—" Gary stopped, looked away. "He already knew." That made me physically recoil. "What do you mean he already knew?" "Your mom told him. Early on. He decided he'd raise you as his own. Said it was for the best." I felt like the air got sucked out of the garage. My whole life, every memory with my dad, suddenly felt staged, manufactured. "He knew? My whole life he knew, and he just, pretended?" Gary's eyes watered. "He loved you. Don't ever doubt that. Whatever mistakes your mom and I made, your dad was the one who gave you a home." I wanted to scream, to hit something, but instead I just sat there in silence. Because underneath the anger was this unbearable truth. I wasn't just my mom's secret. I was my dad's burden. Avoiding my dad. After that night, I couldn't even look at my dad the same way. Every dinner felt like a performance. Every time he called me, "Son," it made my skin crawl. I started avoiding him, working late, staying out, crashing at friends' places. He didn't press me on it, just gave me these sad, searching looks. Like he knew I knew, but couldn't bring himself to say anything. It was unbearable. The box. Then, 2 weeks after the garage conversation, I found something else. Something that changed everything again. I was cleaning out more of my mom's stuff. Boxes we'd left in the attic because no one wanted to deal with them. Inside one, under old yearbooks and holiday cards, was a smaller box. Locked. I almost didn't bother, but curiosity got me. The lock wasn't much. I pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Folded, yellowed, some with faint lipstick smudges on the paper. All addressed from my mom to Gary. And they weren't casual. They weren't, "Hope you're doing well," letters. They were love letters. "I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was perfect. I'm scared of what this means, but I can't stay away from you." And one, written around the time she would have gotten pregnant. "I think I'm late. I don't know what to do. If it's yours, and I know it is, what do we tell him?" My hand shook as I read it. She knew. Gary knew. They both knew. But the letters didn't stop after I was born. There were years of them. Secret rendezvous, missed opportunities, endless longing. And then, around when I turned 5, they just stopped. The last one ended with, "This has to be goodbye. For his sake. For their sake. Please don't come over anymore. It's too dangerous." What did that mean? Too dangerous? Goodbye? For my sake? I couldn't stop turning it over in my head. Something didn't add up. If they ended things when I was 5, then why was my mom still looking at Gary the way she did? Why did neighbors still whisper? And why did my dad act like it was all normal? Talking to Gary again. I confronted Gary again a few nights later. This time, I brought the letters. Slammed the box down on his workbench. "You want to tell me what the hell this is?" He looked at the box like it was a snake ready to strike. Then he just muttered, "She kept them? She kept everything. Why did it stop when I was 5? What does too dangerous mean?" Gary's face went pale. "Not here," he said. "Not now. No, damn it, tell me." But he wouldn't. He just kept shaking his head. "It's not my story to tell. Not yet." That was it. He clammed up. And the worst part? He looked scared. Like really, genuinely afraid. Cracks in the facade. After that, things started getting weird. I catch Gary staring at me across the yard, expression unreadable. He'd wave, but it felt forced. My dad, meanwhile, got quieter and quieter, like he was retreating into himself. And then, there was the night I caught my dad crying in the kitchen. He didn't see me. He was sitting at the table, head in his hands, whispering something I couldn't make out. When I cleared my throat, he jumped up, wiped his face, and muttered, "Just tired." But I swear I heard him say my name. The breaking point. It all came to a head last week. I'd had too many drinks, and the weight of everything just crushed me. I stormed into the living room where my dad was watching TV and shouted, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" He froze, remote in his hand, mouth half open. "Tell you what?" he asked, but his voice cracked. "You know what? That I'm not yours. That I'm his." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Finally, he put the remote down and said, "I didn't tell you because you were mine." "No, I'm not," I shouted. "I'm Gary's. I took a test, Dad. I know the truth." His eyes filled with tears, but he didn't look away. "You're my son. That's the only truth that matters." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But all I could think about were the letters, the whispers, the way my mom looked at Gary. So I asked the question I'd been dreading. "What happened when I was 5? Why did Mom write that it was too dangerous?" His face went white. And then he said something that still makes my skin crawl. "Because she wasn't supposed to have you." The silence after. I stood there trying to process. "What do you mean she wasn't supposed to have me?" But he wouldn't say another word. He just stared at the floor, tears rolling down his face. That's where we left it. That's where I'm leaving this for now, too. Because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to believe. My mom's gone. My dad won't talk. Gary's scared of something he won't name. And me? I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff with no idea what's at the bottom. I'll post part 3 soon. But I'll warn you again, it doesn't get easier from here. Part 3. My mom always said I looked like our neighbor. Now I know why. Part 3. If you haven't read parts 1 and 2, please go back. None of this will make sense otherwise. Fair warning, this is the darkest part. So where I left off, my dad told me I wasn't supposed to exist. That phrase kept replaying in my head like a bad song on repeat. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it. What could he possibly mean? Not supposed to exist? Like what? Some weird religious guilt thing? Or something worse? The next day. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I cornered my dad in the kitchen. "You can't just say something like that and then shut down," I told him. "What did you mean? Not supposed to have me?" He looked like hell, dark circles under his eyes, stubble he hadn't shaved. He poured himself coffee, hand shaking. Finally he said, "Your mother, she got pregnant before you. Twice." I froze. I had never known that. He kept going, his voice hollow. "She lost them both. Complications. The doctors told us it wasn't safe for her to try again. They said another pregnancy could kill her." My heart pounded. "But then she met Gary," he continued, voice cracking. "And then there was you. She insisted on having you, no matter the risk. I begged her not to. She wouldn't listen." He rubbed his face. "I loved her too much to fight her. So I agreed. But I was terrified every day. That's what she meant by too dangerous. Not just for her, but for you, too. Your birth was complicated. You almost didn't make it." I sat there in stunned silence. So that was the big secret? Just medical risk? It sounded anticlimactic, honestly. Except then, I remembered the look on Gary's face when I asked. The fear. The way he shut down. There had to be more. The funeral revelation. A few days later, I went to visit my mom's sister, my Aunt Linda. She'd been close to my mom, closer than anyone else. If anyone knew the truth, it'd be her. We were sitting in her living room, drinking tea, when I finally asked, "Did you know about Gary?" Her cup froze halfway to her lips. "Oh God! You found out. So it's true." She nodded, eyes wet. "I always thought you'd figure it out one day. You look just like him." I told her about the letters, the DNA test, everything. She just sighed. Then she said, "You don't know the half of it." That's when she told me something that made my skin crawl worse than anything else so far. "Your mom didn't just fall in love with Gary. They weren't supposed to be together at all. It wasn't just about your dad. It was about Gary's wife." I frowned. "His wife? You mean?" "Yes. Patricia." Patricia. Sweet, soft-spoken Mrs. Johnson, who always brought cookies to block parties. "She knew about the affair," my aunt said quietly. "From the beginning. She caught them once. And she threatened your mom. Said if she didn't end it, she'd tell your dad, ruin her, ruin Gary, ruin everything." "Wait," I said slowly. "So that's why the letter stopped?" Linda nodded. "Patricia wasn't the kind of woman you crossed. She had dirt on people. Connections. Money from her family. Your mom was terrified of her." Suddenly, too dangerous, took on a whole new meaning. The visit. I couldn't stop thinking about it. About Patricia. Sweet, smiling Patricia, who'd always given me Christmas gifts and asked about school. So, against my better judgment, I went to see her. She was in her garden, trimming roses. When she saw me, she smiled that same warm smile I'd known my whole life. But when I mentioned my mom and Gary and the letters, her face changed. The smile froze, then slid away completely. "I see," she said, setting down her shears. "So you finally figured it out." Her voice was calm. Too calm. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I asked. "Why let me grow up like this, not knowing?" Patricia looked me dead in the eyes. "Because it wasn't your burden to carry. And because your mother promised me she would stop." My throat went dry. "You threatened her." She tilted her head. "I protected my family. I protected you." That last part hit me like a punch. "Protected me? From what?" She didn't answer. She just smiled again, but it wasn't warm this time. It was sharp. Then she said, "Ask your father about the night you were born." And she went back to her roses. Conversation over. The night I was born. It took me 2 more days to work up the courage to ask my dad. When I finally did, he broke down. He told me the whole story. The night I was born, things went bad. My mom was hemorrhaging. They thought they might lose both of us. The doctor asked my dad if they should prioritize saving me or saving her. He chose her. But then, and this part, he could barely get through. Gary showed up at the hospital. He wasn't supposed to be there, but he was. And when the doctor asked again, Gary shouted, "Save the baby." My mom survived anyway, barely. But from that night on, everything changed. My dad knew. My mom knew. Gary knew. Patricia knew. And everyone kept the secret. The aftermath. So here I am, 25 years old, and everything I thought I knew about myself is a lie. My dad isn't my dad, but he raised me. My real father lives next door, but his wife hated my existence. My mom spent her whole life caught between 2 men, 2 families, 2 truths. And me? I'm the product of all of it. The secret nobody wanted to deal with, but everybody protected in their own twisted way. The last conversation. A few nights ago, I went back to Gary's garage. "I know everything now," I told him. He nodded slowly, like he'd been waiting. "You should hate me," he said. "Maybe I do," I said. "But I also know you're the reason I'm here. Literally. You fought for me." His eyes filled with tears. He reached out, then pulled back, like he wasn't sure he had the right. "I don't want to replace your dad," he said. "I just want you to know I've always cared. Always watched out for you, even from a distance." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Where I'm left. I don't have a neat ending here. My dad is still my dad. Gary is still my neighbor. Patricia, well, let's just say I don't plan on visiting her again. But I know the truth now. And as painful, messy, and complicated as it is, at least the shadows are gone. For the first time in my life, when I look in the mirror and see Gary's face staring back, I understand why. And maybe that's enough.